score games. So if you do not mind having some, as news develop, as things break, as you know. And our usual Thursday is here. Dr. Majeed Dahiru, researcher, columnist, and the tech team lead of Luke's Terra Leadership Foundation. Dr. Majeed, good afternoon. You're welcome.
Good afternoon, the Oracle.
Delighted to have you join us.
Thank you very much. And good afternoon to our listeners.
Yes. At one point, I was thinking perhaps Dr. Majeed traveled somewhere for the Eid and taking his sweet time to return. Maybe people who went to places like the United Arab Emirates. I hear it's been raining 2 days back to back and flooding Dubai.
It's unprecedented.
Yeah. Is it a natural rain or the cloud seeding one thing they do there?
Honestly, I don't know yet. But I know that sometimes, even in these very arid regions of the world, Mother Nature sometimes has a way of always making us understand that our knowledge of nature is highly limited, no matter how advanced it is too. So we also experienced something like this in Saudi Arabia a few years ago. And because they didn't have, the kind of infrastructure that can absorb this level of rainfall, it led to flooding, and the government had to compensate affected citizens. Yeah. So we are seeing this across the region in Oman and the United Arab Emirates, and somebody is also saying in Qatar, I don't know. So I hope it is not induced, maybe it's just Mother Nature doing its thing. Okay. But we hope that after this, I'm sure these governments will do the needful to amend or adjust their infrastructure to be able to contain this level of rainfall.
Yeah, because the videos I'm seeing, I just feel like
the drainage system isn't actually.
Well, usually they do not have this amount of rainfall.
So they didn't just plan for this really. So I'm sure they will take a lesson or two from this and make sure that this never happens again.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. Well, let's come back home, and just before we come back home. Just before we come home.
Come back home, okay.
I mean, the Middle East is an interesting cooking pot right now.
Yes.
What's happening there is one that the entire world is paying attention to also. Yes. Israel, Hamas on one front, then we're seeing the Iran dimension coming to it, and everybody is threatening.
Yes.
Iran has said, see, this is in retaliation of what you did in Syria. Yes. However, we're ending it here. If you retaliate, we will come out with a vengeance, even though they sent over 300 missiles to Israel, which was intercepted by their other partners from Jordan to the UK to the US, and then the one that the Iron Dome intercepted. However, Israel itself is not hearing, at least it's a victory on your side. It was 99% successful on your front. Yeah. They are also saying that Iran is going to pay. So it feels like, is it just the talking stage of the relationship of the war they are in, or do we really have to worry that it might go out of hand? Because that region is already volatile as we speak.
Very volatile. And a lot of things at this point in time needs to put in place once and for all to bring to an end this age-long conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis. As for the standoff between Iran and Israel, I think it has been on for a long time. It's just that while Israel...
I thought it was Iran and the West, perhaps maybe like the US and that front over their nuclear weapon, not really Israel.
Okay, you are right in a way, but let me also bring this to our attention. First, we must understand that the very first country in the Middle East, to recognize Israel as a legitimate state when it was created in 1948 was actually Iran.
Okay.
Yes. But Iran then was under the rule of, the Shah of Iran, and things changed dramatically when the 1979 revolution. Recreated what we now know as the Islamic Republic of Iran took place. And so Iran had a major shift of foreign policy tangent when it became quite hostile to the West, and one of the West's most consistent ally in the region, which is Israel. And so it might be so interesting to know that it was Iran who over the years kind of shifted the fulcrum of the Israeli-Arab conflict from one that was racial in nature, Pan-Arabism essentially, to one that is now religious in nature. before 1979, the Arab-Israeli conflict was within the confines of Arabs versus Jews over the contestation of the ancient Palestinian region, essentially. And so some of the early fighters, for example, some of the early, militants that were seeking the realization of a state of Palestine along the 1967 borders were actually Palestinians from diverse backgrounds. Some are Muslims, some are Christians. It was generally a secular movement. Arafat himself was a secular Muslim. The most prominent leader was a secular Muslim who married a Christian, who attended church services, and then he was not Islamist in nature in his approach to the struggle. It was racial, ethnic, if you like. But Iran changed the dynamics. And so Iran started supporting, groups that were now fighting the cause of Palestinians and fighting against Israel under the banner of religion. So a group like Hamas, for example, is one that is seriously supported by the Islamic Republic of Iran. A group like Hezbollah in nearby Lebanon is also being supported by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And the Houthi rebels of Yemen, too, are also being supported by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And so these groups have been fighting on behalf of Iran what looks like a proxy war. And, Iran has a stated foreign policy commitment to see to the end of Israel as a country or as an entity. And so they have been in a state of war, undeclared war, for as long as anybody can remember, really.
Okay.
And from time to time, we have hardline regimes, such as we have in Israel today. The Netanyahu regime is a hardliner too. So it's like if Hamas, along with Iran, do not recognize the legitimacy of Israel and seeks its destruction, the same thing can be said of Netanyahu-led Israeli government as we speak. They also are not committed to a two-state solution. I think, for as far as the Netanyahu government is concerned, anything called state of Palestine should not exist at all. The entire place belongs to
Israel.
Ancient Israel, and so nobody should have any other. So what we have now is two hardline regimes in place in the Middle East. And so this is the first time, for example, that Iran is stepping out of the shadows and attempting a direct confrontation with Israel. Before now, they've done it through their proxies, Hezbollah, through Hamas. The attack on Israel in October last year was definitely supported by Iran. I mean, everybody knows that the military capabilities of Hamas is largely at the instance of Iran. Everybody is not an open secret. So when Israel struck at the embassy in Syria, don't forget that the Syrian regime too is also an ally of Iran. So when they struck there, it was simply a continuous confrontation between these countries, either through proxies or directly, as Israel would want to do in their own case. And as a means of retaliating, Iran, for the first time now, attempted to strike at Israel. But if you look at the retaliation from Iran, it reveals something. I don't think Iran is really ready to fight or to confront Israel directly. I don't think anybody country in that region wants a direct confrontation with Israel.
So what are they shopping for then?
So for me, if you look at the way that response came, I think it was a well-choreographed response that was more diplomatic than militaristic. That was simply aimed
a message
to show strength and capabilities without necessarily striking at any soft targets that would have recorded casualties in order not to escalate the crisis. And so, for example, it was known that before they struck, weeks ahead of their retaliation, quote unquote, the Iranian administration actually gave intel to Turkey that want to strike Israel. And Turkey is an ally of Israel. So definitely Turkey was also reported to have informed the United States and informed Israel of this impending attack. It was also revealed that the Iranians also activated their backdoor communication channel with the U.S. It is important for people to know that the Iranians and U.S. people communicate through a backdoor channel.
The U.S. said the attack was already ongoing when they got the communication.
What the instructive thing there is that, so as much as they grandstand in public, they talk. So they communicate through their Swiss mutual ally. And so Iran was said to have communicated to the United States of this attack through the Swiss authorities. But the US will tell you, okay, yes, they did, but it was when the attack was already ongoing. But what is important is that you were told.
Yeah.
What this means is that it was to allow Israel adequate preparation to have that 99% success at least accepting some of these missiles, drones, and other projectiles that were fired at it. Now, how is Israel going to respond knowing that, okay, this was not really intended to cause any harm, but just to show strength in order to actually guarantee some level of deterrence against future attacks on its target and to satisfy the yearnings of its own citizens at home and supporters abroad for some form of, some retaliatory attacks to show that we're not just we're not
just there,
attackers and ghosts. These are diplomatic maneuverings and posturing. But how Israel reacts, because again, this is the first attack on Israel for over 3 decades by any state actor. The last time such things happened was when the Saddam regime in 1991 fired some shots also into Israel. But this is the first time in a long while that any country at all will attempt a direct attack on Israel. And Israel had maintained that air of mysticism, of impregnability, of invincibility in the region. And so to also punish this attempt, or attempted attempt, to demystify Israel, we don't know how Israel is going to react. So the meetings you see happening in Tel Aviv is, we don't know how to respond, knowing that Iran didn't intend this attack to be like what happened.
And knowing that the US has also said, see, you do not need to do this.
Because US are aware that the intention behind this is to simply show strength when you kill 7 other personnel, including an army general.
Yeah.
So for me, this wasn't even a retaliation per se, because nobody was killed in Israel, no life was lost. Only military targets were actually aimed at, and they were all intercepted. And Iran didn't follow up with more missiles and still trying to exert a pound of flesh. So for me, what the world needs now at this point is to come together. And America has a role to play in this, once and for all. We need to put an end to this bloodshed between Israelis and the Palestinians. The world must show more commitment. The Israeli authorities must be compared at this point, as was done in South Africa, when the world pressured the apartheid regime in South Africa to say, look, enough is enough. We must end apartheid now and allow for proper democratization of this country in exchange for all the guarantees of security of even privileges and rights of the white people, minority, under a democratic, pluralistic, and rainbow nation, now known as South Africa. We must see something of that approach now in the Middle East. America must now live up to his reputation of being as a leader in the world to bring to an end this Israeli and Palestinian conflict once and for all. They have to get the Israeli side to agree at this point to peace, to agree at this point to allow for the creation of an independent Palestinian state in line with the 1967 borders. What is generally known as a two-state solution must happen now, so that as to avert what a lot of people have said might be a trigger for a third world war, which nobody wants to see. That Iran can stay in Tehran
and fire,
and it gets to Israel before you intercepted it, tells you that a lot of countries may have developed capabilities that you don't even know about anymore.
Indeed.
So we need peace, security, and independence for the Palestinian people at this point, side by side, nations for peace and security for the sort of Israel.
Tackle rising living costs. The government has removed the controversial subsidy. As a result, transportation expenses.
This is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
Hello, my name is Kimberly. I'm the host of Hard Facts, and I bring you the biggest stories driving conversation every weekday here on 95.1 Nigeria Info Hard Fact Show. I love to get your opinion and conjectures, but the facts you cannot dispute here on Hard Facts. Join me and let's talk.
is Nigeria Informed.
We need the Palestinians to be granted statehood with full guarantees of security and peaceful coexistence with their Jewish Israeli neighbors.
Yeah.
It's very important. We need all countries of the world to recognize the legitimacy of Israel and its right to exist in Palestinian region, ancient Palestinian region, alongside the predominantly Arab Palestinian state. We need that. We need Iran to de-escalate, tone down its rhetoric, and actually acknowledge the right of Israel to exist. We need to see all this shifting of grounds, but beyond this, the entire world should come together, led by the United States, and of course, assisted by Russia. We need to resolve this conflict once and for all. We don't have to allow this conflict to continue to the next generation. We need to end it now. Grant them statehood along the 1967 borders. And I think that some Arab countries have shown good faith so far. Egypt, for example, signed a peace treaty with Israel as far back as the 70s. And they have not reneged on that treaty up until today.
The UAE also.
The same thing with the UAE, the same thing with Jordan. The same thing with Qatar, for example, has a neutral kind of relationship with all actors there. We're neither friends nor enemies.
Well, Qatar is standing on its own, given the fact that they were sanctioned some time back.
Because of the fact that they were neutral, and its fellow Arab countries wanted them to be hostile towards Israel and Iran, but they felt there was no need. So Qatar talks to everybody, but talks to Qatar. They are like the Scandinavian countries, the role they played in earlier conflict. That's what Qatar is doing. And what I'm saying in essence is, I think most Saudi Arabia is ready as to speak to up to Israel to exchange embassies. In fact, before this latest attack on Israel,
they were planning to.
Exactly. So it's called the Arab Peace Plan. That is, all Arabs will recognize Israel's right to exist, and in exchange for a Palestinian state, an independence for Palestinian state. So I think that should be activated now and seen to fruition. Again, let me talk to Nigerians on this matter. Please, divorce will reduce emotions from it and put humanity first. The war in Palestine or between Palestine and Israel is not religious in nature. No religion sanctions killing of any human being for any reason at all. And so let us have humanity at the core of this conversation. People are dying here, people are dying there. And so we must all stand up for humanity. And when we do, I think we'll bring this whole conflict to a resolution. Yes, a peaceful resolution.
Indeed. All right, let's come back home and follow up on some development. EFCC seem to be taking this Naira abuse and mutilation business quite seriously. We saw the conviction of Idris Okuneye, popularly known as Bob.
Risky.
Yeah, Bob Risky. I mean, he's having a 6-month jail term.
Yes.
And people are like, all right, is it about his lifestyle or are we serious about prosecuting mutilation? And for a lot of Nigeria, they're still not sure if it's about mutilation. However, to prove their point, EFCC is taking it a notch further by bringing another big fish.
Yes.
This time, the Cubana chief priest has also been dragged in.
Yes.
And they went to court today. Eventually was granted bail of 10 million naira for Naira abuse and all whatnot. And we'll get to see how the case proceeds from this point in time.
Not guilty.
Yeah, I mean, Idris said he was guilty. He was sorry. He did not know it was an offense. And they sent him to 6 months.
Yes, which was for me, it was an unfair sentencing. Very unfair.
I think a lot of people should ask.
No, it's unfair. And as far as I'm concerned, this is not really a criminal offense. It is more of a misdemeanor. So it can be punished by fine.
Well, but it is seen as a serious offense by the CBN when the campaign went up.
Nobody stole anybody's money to spray.
Yeah.
It's not a criminal offense.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, something that is misdemeanor in nature should attract a jail term without the option of fine. So that's why some people are saying, was it targeted because of what he represents? Which, as far as I'm concerned, again, should be nobody's business. This guy is an entertainer, essentially. He's an entertainer. Look, for me, Idris or Bobrisky, whatever you call him, is not Nigeria's problem. That we should all be baying for his blood. As far as I'm concerned, the guy hasn't done well for himself. But what it is he's doing, what it is he has done.
But what exactly is it doing?
Entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Simple.
Purely.
And you are not under any obligation to tune to his channel or follow him on social media. For those who want to follow him, he's carved a niche for himself, both locally and globally. As a sensational dresser, as somebody who even dresses even almost better than some women. I mean, it's so...
I would agree with you. Sometimes I look at his dressing and his makeup like, dear God.
It takes a lot of creativity and genius for a man. All of us know Idris was a man.
He is still a man.
He's still a man, but he self-identifies as a woman. And he's an entertainer, essentially. Entertainer. There's no official document of age that shows that he's a man. I mean, no official documentation.
The court says the prison correctional services.
Sorry, when I'm trying to say there's no official document that shows he's a woman. Sorry to say. It tells you that everything about his feminism or femininity is really the realm of entertainment. Make believe. So we shouldn't have taken it so seriously.
But some would say we have young, highly impressionable youth who might begin to see this and the attraction and the glamour that comes with it.
Talking about impressionable youth, is the conduct, the bad behavior of our political leaders, who are the ones showing us how not to be good citizens. That should be what should bother every parent and every citizen. Not Bobrisky. This is the truth. We should stop majoring in minors and then minoring in majors. No. What is that? Who actually gave Bobrisky the impression to become what he has become? He's an entertainer. You have them all over the world. You have them in every generation. You remember Little Richard, the American musician. At a point, you could not tell whether Little Richard was a man or a woman. Yes. The Americans didn't punish him for that. We have a number of them. They are entertainers, essentially. And you're not under obligation to follow them. Bobrisky is not anybody's role model. Bobrisky is just an entertainer. Yes.
Well, he wasn't convicted for it outrightly.
I'm just saying.
Because there will be no law to do that.
It's an opportunity to actually highlight this. Do you know why I take some of this kind of stand? People wonder about his... Some people think his, quote and unquote, his sexuality is under scrutiny. I say, look, listen. If you understand what it means to be tolerant, accommodating, you would understand why some of us are having this kind of opinion we are expressing. Because I know that, for example, in a country like India, as a Muslim, my life is under danger if I decide to use a cow to celebrate my Eid. Because an extremist Hindu, who, by the way, formed the majority of that country, considered that a sacrilege, and that I should be killed for committing a sacrilege. And it has happened to a lot of Muslims in India. We understand that just an act of worship can actually provoke somebody, because it offends his own sensibility. He's unable to control it. He's not tolerant. He's not accommodating or the fact that, well, he's not a Hindu, so he can eat cow. But I'm a Hindu, I worship it. He cannot control, he cannot contain his emotions. And he visits violence, hate on you. You would understand why you need to tolerate people for whatever they decide to be with themselves, as long as it does not infringe on your own right. It's something, for example, in Myanmar. Just being a Muslim renders you stateless. You can't have citizenship of Myanmar for being a Muslim. If that were the only case, well, thank God. You've seen violence, state-sponsored violence, by the Buddhist extremist regime of Myanmar against the Rohingyas of Myanmar just because they are Muslims. That is, I've seen a part of the world where just being a Muslim attracts death to you. Why am I saying this? I'm going to this extent to show that, look, you must understand that if you seek to be tolerated, even when you're worshiping God in your own way, you should also have tolerance for people and diversity of opinion. Bobrisky is the least of Nigeria's problems. And if you ask me, Bobrisky is more useful than so many people, particularly those of them that are stealing our money, those that are plundering our resources. Bobrisky is more useful. Bobrisky has created a content that has gotten him wealthy and has employed people under his enterprise. Bobrisky is far more useful than most of these people that you see as role models, that are giving titles, that are giving front seats in the churches, that are giving front row seats in the mosque. Bobrisky is far, far, far better than them, irrespective of what you think about him. Yes, we must drum it to people's ears. He has not stolen anybody's money. He's not a bandit, either administrative, judicial, political, or executive.
How about a moral bandit?
There's nothing immoral about Bobrisky. The real immorality here is stealing people's funds. That is the real immorality that is actually killing Nigeria today.
All right.
I don't understand how anybody can see Bobrisky and people say that he's immoral. Okay. No, he's an entertainer. And he has carved a niche for himself in the entertainment world globally.
Okay.
Now you have nearly destroyed his brand. You came and you announced to the whole world that you searched him and he's a man and all and all. Do you have to go? It means there is more to this than just the money was spraying. And this other guy has learned from Bobrisky's folly of admitting guilt. So he has come to court and told you, I'm not guilty. He's a billionaire. I've given him 10 million naira bill and he has posted and told you, okay, we'll see next time on the next adjourned date. How are you actually going to prove
that he is
that he actually mutilated Naira? When everything you saw was through social media. What if he tells you that I was not performing a script?
Because he looks like he's going to get the very finest of lawyers. Like you mentioned, I mean, you read Bob Risky's case, saw the mistake that sent him to prison.
Exactly. So
you want to do the opposite.
So this guy, as I'm talking to you, that guy has actually punctured this entire drive towards arresting people that spray money. Again, this issue of spray money, let me tell you, it's a cultural thing. Nigerians spray money, not just in Nigeria, even in the US. When they do weddings, they spray dollars, they spray pounds.
I've seen a number of those
and
videos.
they've not been arresting those countries for spray money. What does this tell you? You see, the real abuse of Naira are those that are stealing it and eating it. That is the real abuse of the Naira. So this energy that the FCC is deploying to arrest people who made their money legitimately and try to spray it as they like. I'm not saying that some level of decency shouldn't go into the handling of national currency.
Because,
That's not the point. I'm saying this energy, look, we didn't have to do more in the real issue than these things you're pursuing. How are you going to prove this case against this guy? If he gets a good lawyer and tells you that everything you saw on some meeting was it was a movie. So?
Video evidence will not
So
suffice.
this is a cultural issue. How you can change this is through national orientation, one, and to get the political leaders themselves, the moral compass of the society, to not to do this, to stop to doing this. We saw a governor spray money during the last Eid. We've seen political person spray money like this. This attitude of spray money started from our big men now.
That show off. I've seen videos, someone sitting up at the platform and spraying money and all of that.
Spray money. It didn't start with Bobrisky and Kubana Chief Priest. It started from those that
who have the money to spray.
So it's a national orientation. If you feel that it's no longer too tidy, I don't spray money in public as a matter of principle. Because I believe that rather than spray that money, I would rather give the celebrant quietly. And I also have this consideration that rather than spray money in public, why not give it to one or two people around that are hungry, that need money? That is my personal belief.
Because Saturday's weddings, you get to still see this spraying thing still going on.
Spray money is part of the itinerary. Let me tell you about spray money. It is that money that people spray that some of the celebrants actually get as part of the recouping of the investment in those parties. In fact, it is highly anticipated that, okay, the money that they spray today, you are in charge of picking it. So that money we are going to use to pay social balance of the activities we are doing today. It's a cultural thing. So it will require a cultural revolution of some sort.
To undo it.
You can't use the force of law. And this guy is going to prove that you can't use law to do it.
You seem to be confident that he can...
Yes, how in the world are you going to prove that I mutilated the Naira?
Video evidence.
Okay, we'll get to court now. Why I'm saying this is, you see, what was done to Bobrisky was unfair, and I call on his lawyers to go and appeal that judgment. You can't convict somebody in that manner, and just because you feel.
And he's a first-time offender in that.
It was too harsh without option of fine. So he's been convicted and he's serving a jail term for 6 months. It's not right. It's not fair. You see, because it's Bobrisky, because they call him Bobrisky. What is so useless about Bobrisky? What is it?
All right. Okay, so this is a conversation we hope to have at the 5 o'clock hour, looking at the cultural approach to ending the spraying of money. You said it's a cultural problem, and so we need to find that end to it.
It's a cultural thing. I don't know that's a problem yet.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. Well, the problem end of it is the fact that we spend a lot of money to print in these currencies. And so when you spray it, people trample on it, they step on it, and all of that. You're mutilating it. And over time, the wear and tear will be forced to produce more.
I agree. So, and that is what makes it very difficult to prove. How are you sure that the monies are sprayed got mutilated at the end of the day? Because I can spray money and you get mutilated. Look, let's leave this matter as a cultural thing. Again, let those that have this money, and we know them, let them begin to lead by example. I'll have to do these things more responsibly. So you can keep a carton down and just arrange the stack of Naira inside.
And then dump it there.
I agree. I don't necessarily endorse the way Kubana Chief Priest goes about his own. I don't. No, I don't. I don't like over monetization of entertainment and lifestyle because it creates this sense of get money at all costs or die trying. I don't like. I think it's not really good for the psyche.
Indeed.
Of young people. I know. However, I'm just saying, my major problem here is actually Bobrisky, really. No. I'm a Bobrisky's fan. Yes.
I would never have guessed.
No, I'll tell you why today.
Why? Is this a makeup?
When he started, I was like, I'm fade away very soon. But
is that getting traction?
When this guy was able to transform himself from a man, seemingly, and became so woman.
So relevant.
It's for me a stroke of genius. I mean, I could imagine this guy in a movie. We've seen that the movie act all roles, including female roles. We've seen, notable. I mean, we know them. I mean, Martin Lawrence. We've seen some blockbuster movies from Hollywood. Had to do with male actors acting a female role throughout the season of the movie, and it came out. So I actually saw Bobrisky. I said, this guy has been underutilized. He can actually be utilized to act certain kind of roles in entertainment in movies that can bring a lot of attention for us.
I heard this.
He's creative. This guy it takes creativity for a man like Idris Okune to transform to Bobrisky. And if you don't know that this is Bobrisky and this was an Idris, you almost ask for the person's number.
There are lots of time I've actually seen this picture, and I promise you, Dr. Majeed, if you didn't say it was an Idris, I would never have believed. Because it just looked like a society.
And guess what?
Female,
Idris does not tell you that he's gay. Even if he decides to be, that's his personal business. Idris said, I have become a woman. I have done all the necessary to become a woman.
They've ruined his brand. Now we know it's a lie.
Meaning, Idris tried to tell you, I'm a woman. So I'm dating men because I'm a woman. I'm not dating a man because I'm a man. People don't seem to understand this. But all of that was for sure. I'm a man, I'm a G, I'm a guy. When I see a guy that is a real guy, I also know. So after watching Bobrisky, I said, no, this guy is a guy. So I'm not surprised when they said they found him in town. I said, before, he thought Idris was truly a woman. No, it was an art. It was an entertainment thing. So don't hate this guy for nothing.
Okay.
The guy is more useful to me as a Nigerian than all of you that are stealing a public fund up and down here. So that is my own. The guy didn't steal anybody's money. The guy made his money from creating content. And he's followed all over the world. People know a Bobrisky in Nigeria that is making waves, that is competing with men in fashion and style. Man.
All right, Mommy of Lagos is in prison. He will come out as Daddy of Lagos. but I'm sure the lesson has been learned, and see if they can appeal it and hopefully get him out maybe before the 6 month is up. It's the Roundtable. We're looking at some of the big stories driving conversation. Naira B's story is what we just looked at. And just before I throw open the phone lines, help us understand what is going on in Kano.
Is it understandable?
With Ganduje.
Is it understandable?
Because now the Kano State High Court has granted an expletive order restraining the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje, from parading himself as a member of the party. Subsequently, the court ordered that henceforth, Ganduje should desist from presiding over all affairs of the National Working Committee of the APC. And directed 4 parties responding joining the matter, including APC, NWC, APC Kano State and Working Committee, and Ganduje to henceforth maintain status quo antebellum as of April 15, 2024, pending the hearing and determination of the substantive suit on April 30, 2024. We know that the Kano State government has a lot of case of corruption, bribery, misappropriation of funds and all whatnot against Ganduje, his wife and his son at this point in time. So the Gandola saga is not over. Immunity is off. And now he can be dealt with. But some people are saying, as, an APC chieftain, how is it that he's not having some kind of like immunity and this is happening to him? Somebody called yesterday and said it just might be the party wanting to kick him out. I said, well, don't go faster than your shadow at this point in time. It's one that one needs to continue to read what is going on. But is there a corruption allegation? I'm sure they have one. Take it to court and let's see how it pans out. Is this going to be one of those charades that we see and we get excited and then at the end of the day, nothing happens? No one can tell at this point in time.
You see, this matter is a very serious one.
It is?
It is. First, what is not in doubt is that this is a continuation of the battle between himself and his predecessor. Former governor of Kano, Umar, is it Umar now? Kwankwaso. Musa Kwankwaso, Musa Rabiu Kwankwaso. And, of course, his successor, Umar Abdullahi Ganduje. It is that part also. And that was why the contestation for the governorship of Kano was so tensed. It was so serious. It was like a battle that was going to end all battles. Because they understood that whoever controls Kano can destroy the other. And so now, NPP has taken over Kano. They won the elections. They've been affirmed by the Supreme Court. So they are now out to do what was highly predictable. Now, if you look at the series of events, you asked a very important question. Being a member of the ruling party and ally of the president, we should have some cover, right? maybe not immunity because he's no longer in an office with immunity, but cover at least, right?
Yeah.
Within the Nigerian context. You know? Now, that is why you see that the institutions after him are state government institutions. First, the corruption charges is not by the EFCC or ICPC. It's by the Kano State Anti-Corruption Agency, what they call it. That's under the control of the state government. They have used it against him. They have filed a case in the Kano State High Court because there's an anti-corruption law in Kano anyway. And they are now making the claim that he violated some of these laws. There are some infringements he committed against the state laws. And ordinarily, the State High Court can actually try offenders of state laws. So if you have an anti-corruption law in your state and you allege that somebody has actually, infringed upon those laws, yes, you can actually charge the person before the court, before the State High Court. However, I also am aware that there is a federal High Court judgment that seeks to actually stop that process. But maybe because both the High Court and the Federal High Court are courts of concurrent jurisdiction, maybe they're going to go ahead telling you, look, it has no effect on what you're going to do, except an appeal court affirms either of the contending rulings or judgments. And so this is the use of state apparatus.
Okay.
The classic example of going after political opponents. Now, on the surface of the matter, it can be argued that yes, the Gandola issue, we saw a lot. Now Nigerians saw things and we know things. That yes, the government is right to want to use the instrumentality available to it to retrieve their monies. So, now, there's nothing wrong with that in principle. If I support it, if other states can actually strengthen the anti-corruption laws, domesticate them, and have such agencies too that can try corruption cases without necessarily referring to EFCC, I think it would be a good development. However, when it is also politically motivated, then there's a question mark to this, which means, so is it that it's because it's your opponent that you are doing this? What if it wasn't your opponent? And what are you doing to as a state government to even prevent your own government and members of your government from doing some of the things you're accusing this other man of doing? That's on one hand. But whether they have the right to do this, it is within their right to do so. But what some of us may not necessarily support, no matter how much we do not like the other person's face, is politically motivated use of state institutions against perceived opponents. It's something to discourage. And that's why some of us have apprehension when we have state police. Because like we've always argued, state police may not necessarily end up being used to police the state. It might be used to harass political opponents because there is this godlike mentality and vengeful disposition of governors in Nigeria that sometimes makes them to use every garment of institutional
within their part,
to go after anybody perceived as enemy. So it is Gandhi today. We don't know who it's going to be tomorrow. Again, they have gone a step further by engineering clearly members of his ward to expel him or just suspend him now, which is aimed at getting him out of that office of the national chairman. So when some other people rally down to say no, it's just a fashion of the members of the ward and the state chairman, the state executive has come out to say no, we haven't suspended those who did it. Somebody has rushed to the State High Court again to get this order to say, okay, that suspension was in order, it was valid, and stop yourself as a chairman. And this is something that you may have to vacate through a superior court, otherwise it is in effect as we speak. Meaning anything that Gandhi does today at the secretariat here becomes illegal because of this court order. Appeal it, for example, and get a superior court to overturn it, and maybe Supreme Court to affirm it. Otherwise, as it stands now, you must obey this first. Whether you think that it was used by the NPP state government, it is a court. Especially the quagmire we are in Nigeria. You see how powerful state governments can be. The same to federal government. However, in all of this, it also calls to question the quality of individuals and politicians that actually run our political affairs. Ordinarily, President Tinubu should have known better than to make somebody like Ganduje the party chairman of APC. Look, however you look at it, this man was seen on tape. Was seen collecting bribe in dollars. Yes. How do you make such a man the chairman of your party? I'm saying this because you might, yes, it is even quite obvious that the NNPP in the state is trying to just bring down this man, no doubt. But it is largely going to get sympathy of the general public because there's a perception of corruption
Indeed.
that is hanging over this man. To the point that some people started calling him Kandola, not Kanduje. So you should have known that whether you stand by him or not, and why I'm going to battle this, it has already delegitimized not just the chairman, the office of the chairman of the APC. There are better ways to compensate somebody like Kanduje because Kanduje is a strong ally of Tinubu, no doubt. He was one of the earliest northern governors to say, Paul should go to the south and should go to Tinubu. I know. And within the establishment kind of politics that where you do compensations, there are things you can use. But the institution of the party should not be subjected to such level of ridicule. Because what I like it or not, people have that impression already. And what the opponents of Gandhi in Kano are simply to do is to feed on that public sentiment of, we already know he was corrupt. We know he is not very disciplined. We know, the man of easy virtue and all of that. We know. These are the issues. So it's a quagmire. How are they going to do this? This is going to do an incalculable damage to both the image of the party and to the individual of that office.
But what should the party do at this point in time? Okay, the court has given that direction not to parade himself.
In the first instance, should not have actually.
But what damage control can they do at this point in time?
Honestly, it's difficult because one is like they are right now caught in between a rock and a hard place. If you ask me, if they had not made this strategic blunder of bringing in Kanduje in the first instance, they would have avoided this, this devil's elbow of a curve now. And probably this chapter will not have been opened in the life of the APC. You see, the government is struggling to correct some of its wrong policies. It's trying to, it's trying. You can see that they are trying to make amends here and there. 1 year is gone, election is coming in 3 years. Now with this again, how do you manage this? So how will you let the party, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, handle a situation like this?
All right.
This man is his ally, on one hand, but he's having a lot of troubles at home that are likely self-inflicted. And let me add this too. Members of the APC in Kano are not also very happy with Kanduje. And I'll tell you why. One of the few appointments that have come to Kano so far was given to his son. And people are like, you've been governor for 8 years, you're a party chairman right now. Why will you get appointment, the few appointments that come to you, and one of them will be given to your son, when you have a lot of people that are waiting for appointment that have not gotten? So these are issues. So a lot of people are within the APC may we be collaborating with the NNPP to engineer his removal. So we leave that to the APC to decide anyway.
Indeed.
Yes.
All right, we'll see what the APC decides at the end of the day on YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube. We say streaming just on YouTube because Facebook is having a bit of a challenge. So you can go to YouTube, leave your comment and follow on the conversation there. And several comments sent in already. Patrick, we see you. On Israel-Iran show of force. Show of force is highly condemnable. I don't think the world needs war at the moment. I really hope Israel will stop the war with Palestine because it will benefit no one. More orientation is equally needed to stop the defacing of the Naira, abusing the Naira. Okada and Keke riders are chairmen in rough handling of the Naira. Pure water sellers join also, he wrote. And then he says on Ganduje, if Nigeria was a country really serious to fight corruption, it should have been tried the very week he finished his tenure. Some of these 8 years ago governors have a lot of explaining to do, he wrote. And our phone line is down, just trying to buy some time so that our engineers can boot it back up. But you can call us on WhatsApp. Please let our engineers know that the phone line is down. Let's see here. Israel Achille says, Dr. Majeed, we welcome you back. Israel is still priding in the idea of being the locals of God's people, but they can't deceive the intelligent people anymore. They should stop killing Palestinians. They are no longer a theocracy and now not central in God's planning anymore. Every human of all race and color are entitled to salvation, including the Palestinians. Hamas started the war, but enough is enough. 1948, Israel not fighting for a godly cause anymore. All right, that's actually in Abuja. Who is the real aggressor between Iran and Israel? Netanyahu wants to engage and escalate more regional war because he knows that the day the war ends is the end of his political leadership in Israel. It was the failure of his intelligence community that led to Hamas taking Israel into hostage for the first time since 1948, when he was busy trying to change the constitution in order to perpetuate himself in power. Whatever happened in the region after the war in Gaza and Iran, Netanyahu has woefully failed to maintain and protect Israel's military might in the region. Oki Ibrahim sent that one in. And Dr. Majeed, could you educate us about where Palestinians originally migrated from to occupy the present land that is now a bone of contention between Israel and the Palestinians? Leo sent that one in. And what Bobrisky is doing is bad. We have people watching him willingly and unwillingly. His influence is negative to others. A journey with 1,000 miles begins with a step. Nigeria is a religious country, and all religion kicks against it. SMH from Suleja sent that one in. Iran just entered a trap set for them. Israel will be precise in their response, which is obvious, not Iran's kind of, okay, Palestinian needs two-state solution. Likewise, southeast of Nigeria to end the blood shed in our land. On Bobrisky, injustice will destroy the country. Same offense, different judgment when the judge... Okay, OGB would leave the rest out. They should go and arrest governor of Niger State too because he has been spraying money to people. Why is he moving freely? Is he above the law? Babs Scooter sent that one in. Or you have video evidence. I might want to tender that. Oluzade Abiodun says, good afternoon to our guests. Well, report has it that about 6 Israeli injured in the attack. Both nations should just embrace peace. I totally disagree with your guest. Bobrisky is not an entertainer at all. You claim he's an entertainer. In what way? Is it threat to morality, and his activity should be of concern to the authority? I commend the authority for his sentence. Chinelo says, all right. I think that's coming from the phone line. I want to appreciate the guest. I agree with him about Bobrisky. It's not the Nigerians' problem. Yes, this should look for something better to do instead of pursuing citizens who struggle and still struggling to make their lives meaningful. The chief priest, Portable, Bobrisky, have never for a day reported that they are terrorists or bandits, neither politicians that steal the money that belongs to the people. They should tackle insecurity, not running after people in the name of Naira abuse. Well, Chinelo, their job is not insecurity, technically. It's about economic and financial crime. Dr. Majeed, you spoke well, especially about Israel-Palestine conflict, but the issue on that confused, gender, Bobrisky, if the court finds him guilty in the confines of the law, case closed. He's not the one found guilty regardless of Naira mutilation. The lady Jennifer was also found guilty for me. If you think Bobrisky is doing right, well, okay, we'll leave the rest out. Dr. Majeed, God bless you. EFCC is expecting Nigerians to applaud them for prosecuting a man who is spending his money instead of those spending taxpayers' money. Meyaki from Maitama. Let's take a break for the news at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
This is Nigeria Info. This is Nigeria.